What's up guys, welcome back to the channel, and on today's video we're going to be looking at Polar's newest, maybe not newest, but the latest watch to their lineup, the Polar PACER. Now the Polar PACER was announced with the Polar PACER Pro about a month ago, but Polar released the PACER Pro first, and then they waited a little while to release the PACER. And in the filming of this review video, I have been wearing the PACER every day for about a month. Of course, I am very familiar with the Polar ecosystem. I've had several Polar watches over the last couple years, so ultimately I am very familiar with what they're offering. And this PACER, although I did say it is an entry level, it is only entry level because of the price. The Polar PACER retails for about $200, $199.95 here in the US, about 200 euros in Europe, and about 170 pounds in the UK. The Polar PACER represents incredible value. Okay, so first of all, we are going to go over some of the specs, then I'm going to be showing you some of the features of the watch, what you get when you buy this $200 running watch. And by the way, Polar is promoting this as a running watch. In fact, kind of their slogan, their catchphrase for the watch is that this is a no-nonsense GPS watch that gives the modern runner all the essentials, plus a few extras. So while that statement is true, it does give you everything you need, it does give you a little bit more. It also gives you the ability to choose from 130 activities and use this watch to track them. So to market it as a running watch, to say this is just a running watch, doesn't really describe the Polar PACER as well as I think it should. Of course, saying that, I only use this watch for running, so perhaps it is perfect for me. Okay, you can buy the Polar PACER in 4 different colors. We have night black, which is what you see right here, cloud white, deep teal, and purple dusk. Color to fit every personality. As you can see, I have the most boring of personalities because I chose black. Now guys, remember that this is a $200 watch. It is an entry-level watch, just like all other watches of this price point. It's made entirely of plastic. When you get to the higher end Polar watches, we start using aluminium. Some of the higher end watches have a sapphire display. The Polar PACER is all plastic. Now, I don't want that to come across negatively. It is a beautiful watch. In fact, I have compared this to a couple other entry-level watches around the same price. Stand by for a video comparing my 2 favorite entry-level watches. And I think that the Polar PACER is the most aesthetically pleasing entry-level watch that we have available right now. Looking at it, it is remarkably Polar. They have kept the same aesthetic over time, but they've just made a couple little tweaks. And I think those tweaks make it a very good looking watch. Happiness is in the details, as they say. Polar PACER does weigh 40 grams with the silicone band. The band is removable, by the way, and you can put on any 20mm band. But if you take the band off, the watch itself weighs 23 grams. It measures 45mm by 45mm. It is 11.5mm thick. So the weight and the measurements tell you how low profile this watch is. I have worn this to bed every night for the month that I've had it, and I don't notice it. And you've got to wear it to bed because that gives you some of the details that we're going to talk about in just a second. We have a 1.2-inch memory and pixel display. The resolution is 240 by 240, and I find this actually very pleasing to look at. It is pretty good in bright sunlight. Now in the dark, obviously it's very good because it does have a backlight, and the backlight is something you can change. You can adjust to suit your needs. To adjust the backlight, you're going to press this lower left-hand button to get to the main menu. We're going to scroll up to settings, then general settings, then we're going to scroll down till we get to backlight brightness. From there we can choose low, medium, high, and if we scroll all the way to the bottom, we can also use only with a light button. So if you didn't want the backlight of the watch coming on when you lift it to look at it, you can turn that off completely and make it so you only press the button to turn it on. The Polar PACER does feature Gorilla Glass 3.0, and the glass is only 1.1mm thick. In fact, compared with the Polar Vantage V2, the display on the Polar PACER is 3mm closer to the glass, making it even clearer. The Polar PACER does not have a touchscreen, which actually I think is a pretty good feature on a sports watch, and it does make a sound. And by that, I mean there are no beeps. You can't have it beep at you to tell you when you're clicking over a kilometer, clicking over a mile. This is also something that I really like. I don't want my watch beeping. I want the vibration alerts. The Polar PACER is water resistant to 50 meters. Pretty good, kind of an industry standard. Don't go diving with it, but you're not going to ruin it by getting it wet. And here we go. This is a biggie. Aside from the price, the battery life is a biggie. The Polar PACER can last for up to 7 days in regular watch mode. It's pretty good, but that isn't really sensational. Like, really, who cares how long it lasts in watch mode? If it lasts more than a couple of days, that's great. What's really important is how long it lasts in G.P.S mode. And the Polar PACER can last 35 hours when tracking your location via G.P.S, pinging every second. That's also using the optical heart rate sensor. So basically you can go out for a very long time and your watch isn't going to run out of battery. You're going to track all your data. But let's say you do an event that's longer than 35 hours. You can also switch it to battery saver mode, and then you can track your activities for up to 100 hours. Now obviously when you are tracking in battery saver mode, the accuracy goes down, but still it's a pretty good option to have if you were out there for a really long time. If you like this video, if you are entertained, if you like GPS running watches, I'd love it if you hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if you're not already. It really helps me and helps the channel more than you know. Now if you know nothing else about Polar, you know that they are the leader in heart rate monitoring. And the Polar PACER is featuring Polar's Precision Prime optical heart rate technology. Let me just see if I can activate these lights right here. Try my thumb one more time to make it think that it's against my wrist. There we go, and we can see the lights. Basically there are 10 LED lights and they flash, sending the light deep into your wrist, and it's detecting the blood flow as it runs through the veins in your wrist. And then the light that is reflected back to the watch is picked up by the light detectors, and then Polar uses their super fancy algorithm, which I know nothing about, and it gives you your heart rate. So me telling you that Polar's precision prime optical heart rate technology is good is all well and good, but why don't we take a look at comparing it to some of the other watches that are available out there. So in this example on your screen right now, this is a day that I went out and I just ran some intervals. I think these were 800-meter intervals, and we can see that from a long way out, from the macro perspective, all the heart rate monitors look pretty good. They're all pretty much in line. So let's go ahead and just zoom in on a couple of intervals. We are just going to drag this across, highlighting that. And in this diagram, the Polar PACER is the purple color, but unfortunately this program is overlaying purple and blue, so they're sometimes difficult to see. But let's just take a look at this first interval right here, and we can see that the Polar PACER in the purple, that increased immediately right as I started the interval. And I can only say that this is when I started the interval because the layer that is closest to us is the Chorus watch that I've been comparing it to, and it's just a little late. And I think it's a pretty safe bet to say that the Chorus watch is a little late compared with the Polar, because the other two watches that I have been using have been measuring very close to what the Polar PACER is reporting. Okay, I think we are going to skip this interval. Everything looks pretty good here. Again, we'll skip this. Right here we have a little peak, that's the Chorus. Looks like it's measuring about 10 beats higher than the Polar PACER, and this interval is pretty good. This interval gets a little squirrely here on the end, but all in all, I'm pretty happy with how the Polar PACER is reporting my heart rate. There were no peaks and there were no valleys. Like, my heart rate didn't drop out at all, it didn't peak at all. And all it takes is one time for that to ruin the entire data set. While we're talking about heart rate and tracking the data that the watch is putting out, let's just talk briefly about G.P.S accuracy. Okay, on your screen right now, you're looking at a little piece of my run where I went around a roundabout, and when we look at this spaghetti lines of all the watches that I'm using on this run, Polar PACER is the light blue. And if you look right here on the photo, you can see that it is the line furthest to the south. And I chose this point of the run because I wanted you guys to see the accuracy. The Polar PACER is actually the most accurate watch in this instance. In fact, at this spot in my run, I pretty much took the Polar PACER's path exactly. Now let's just scroll over just a little bit as I'm running home. We can see the Polar PACER has me running out to this side of the road, when in actual fact, in this time I was actually running in the bike lane. Then as we round the corner, we can see the Polar PACER moves more into line with the other tracks. But guys, I really want you to take that with a pinch of salt. I can pick and choose what data I show you. But all that to say this, in my testing, the Polar PACER has been extraordinarily good at tracking G.P.S data, especially compared with my other comparable watches that I've been comparing it against. And something that is very important to point out is that the Polar PACER and the Polar PACER Pro have been updated from all of Polar's past watches. And I think this is the best update that Polar has come out with recently, because they're now using a processor that is 2 times faster, and the Polar PACER and the Polar PACER Pro have 7 times more RAM. The Polar PACER picks up the G.P.S satellites quicker than any of my other watches, or I should say the Polar PACER and the Polar PACER Pro. And that's because they do use assisted GPS, and basically that is where the watch remembers where you last had a GPS signal, and it kind of holds on to that, so it knows where to look in the sky for the satellites. Okay, so basically the Polar PACER is a pretty ideal running watch. It does everything you need to record your runs, to record the data that you want when you're running. But let's look at some of these extras. Now, as far as the home screen on your watch, you can configure different widgets, and the widgets actually represent different points of data that you would like to look at. One of these widgets is the Fitspark training guide. I think this is really one of the benefits to the whole Polar ecosystem, because it kind of promotes an all-around fitness. But if we go to the watch right now, we can see that I have the Fitspark training guide as my home screen, and right now it is telling me to tone my core. Basically, I've been recording a lot of runs with this watch, and it's telling me I need to do something else. But it goes one step further than that. If we go ahead and hit this side button, they've made it red just to make it easy to see and press. If we open this up, when it's in the Fitspark guide, we can see that it gives us several options, and it will walk us through it. We have a core regular, we have a mobility dynamic, mobility static, or a regular circuit training. I'm not really up for a 51-minute workout right now, so let's just scroll back up and we're gonna enter the first one, core regular. We can start it, and it gives you a rundown. You do each exercise for 40 seconds, then rest until the minute is full. If you scroll down even further, it actually gives you a visual description of the exercises that you're going to be doing. It makes doing those extra exercises, those exercises that actually make you a better runner, very easy to do, and it walks you through it. And by the way, all these widgets are configurable, so if you wanted more or you wanted fewer, you can pick and choose which widgets you have as your home screen. But now we're looking at the nightly recharge on my watch, and we can say right here it says okay. Ultimately, that means that my night of sleep was okay. If we go ahead and open up the nightly recharge, we can see that although my nightly recharge was okay, my ANS charge was down, even though my sleep charge was up. We can then open different aspects of our sleep. So let's open my sleep details. I got a sleep score of 73, which is above normal. It looks like I had a pretty good night's sleep last night of 9 hours and 19 minutes. If we then go back to the ANS details, remember that was pretty poor this time. Scroll down, it's going to give you your beat-to-beat intervals. Scroll down a little more, we've got the heart rate variability, tells you your breathing rate, and ultimately this is where Polar excels. They are very good at getting all the information to make sure you are tracking every aspect of your life that you want to. Now we're talking about running. From the Polar Flow website, you are able to download specific training programs to your watch. You can download programs anywhere from the 5K all the way to the marathon. Let's go to the watch to show you Polar's Training Load Pro. First of all, we have to make sure we're on the right widget, so let's scroll up, and right here, this is the Training Load Pro widget. Like all the other widgets, if we press the red button on the right hand side, we enter the widget, and you can see that my cardio load status is productive, gives you a number for strain, a number for tolerance. Then if we scroll down, it gives you a little descriptor. I've been training progressively, which should be improving my fitness level. Keep it up. It's nice to have that motivation from my watch. And while in Training Load Pro, you can also see this ring around the outside. We can see detraining, maintaining, productive, and overreaching. And it looks like right now I am right on the middle of maintaining and productive. The Polar Pacer does have push notifications, so if you get a call, if you get a text message, you can be notified on your watch. You cannot respond to those texts from your watch though. And the Polar Pacer also has music controls right on your watch. So if when you're running, your phone is tucked away in a pack, in a pocket, and you don't want to dig it out, you are able to do things like play, pause, skip to the next track, go back a track, you can adjust the volume, and you can do this in two different ways. You can set this as a screen in your activity, and also you can have it as one of your widgets. So if you're not out for a run and you're just out and about and you want to change the music, change a podcast on your watch, you can do so. First of all, we have to scroll down to find the music controls widget, then we have to enter by pressing the red button on the side. Once we enter it, we can see that it is connected to the phone. I have an audio book open. We can go back a track, we can press play, we can go forward on the track. If you press this upper left-hand button, we enter the volume. You can see it being adjusted on my phone as I press the buttons. My friends, there are lots of other features that the Polar Pacer has. It does have FuelWise, which allows you to set reminders to take in nutrition when you're running. You can also set reminders to take in hydration, which is actually pretty ideal when you're out on a really long run. Sometimes we need that little reminder. Well guys, let me know what you think. Let me know if you think the Polar Pacer is worth it for $200. I would love to hear your opinion. And also, of course, with every watch review, I want to hear what watch you all are using to track your runs. Does your current watch track everything that you want, or perhaps do you want a little more? Maybe the Polar Pacer is in your future. If so, I have linked to it in the show notes below. Thanks for staying all the way to the end of the video. All questions are welcome. I realize that I probably haven't covered every single thing about the Polar Pacer. It is an extremely capable watch, not only to track your running, but to track 129 other activities, to track your sleep, to track your performance, to track your energy expenditure. You can control your music, get your messages. Pretty good deal for $200. Be kind, be happy, run well. See you in a couple of days.